I'm Yves Doucet.
And we have a special guest today,
Mhm.
Anna Larad.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, Anna is running for counselor at large here in our beautiful city of Moncton, New Brunswick. And I got the opportunity to meet you a couple Thursdays ago and was just so enthralled at your platform. I loved how you talked about homelessness and those experiencing homelessness. I loved the little
Thank you so
thing.
much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, like I've worked firsthand on frontline for about 10 years, and it's a big, and since I've moved to Moncton, I've had the opportunities to work in different not-for-profits in the city and get involved with some really big, exciting projects that were where the province was coming to the table and all community not-for-profits were in the same room talking about how are we going to address this homelessness problem here in Moncton, right? Because it came on very quickly with different pressures from the pandemic. We've transformed basically, like the rate of change in Moncton was like faster than Brooklyn, faster than Oakland. We really grew and had the growing pains in that way. And it's the more that I've been on the reason why I joined in the first place to campaign is because I felt my knowledge would be useful. I've gone to school to study these problems. I've worked frontline in different places across the country, and I thought it would be really good to have someone on council who has a subject matter expertise, not just in like when we think homelessness, we often think people sleeping outside. So that's why I say quote unquote not just homelessness, but also in those drivers around what does affordability look like? How do we define that? Who benefits, right? And the longer I've been on the campaign trail, I've knocked on 4,000 doors across the
Nice.
city.
Wow.
I've been out since
Wow.
January in that
Is
minus
it
20.
is Anna, is it hard on the ego knocking on doors?
No, our community is so warm and
Wow.
lovely. And
Okay.
like, and I've always been someone who, in customer service, they say like you can talk to nine nice people, but if you talk to one nasty person, that's who sticks with you. I made a decision very young. I was like, that's not going to be me. I'm going to think about those nine nice people. And I find often when there's someone who disagrees with you, listening goes a long way and being curious and saying, oh, well, how did you come to that idea? And finding those points in common. Because I find for a lot of people, if there's initially kind of an energy of like skepticism, understanding where they're coming from can really yield a productive conversation. It's been very rare across the whole city that I've had someone that I would call fully an irredeemably negative experience.
And what would be the number one, number two, number three things that people talk to you about that people are
I would say
complaining about?
number one is affordability, but in two different ways. So there's how affordability is impacting us and our family specifically. Like people will talk about they're concerned about their bills, they're concerned about their property taxes, they're concerned about being able to maintain their lifestyle, retire, what they can give to their kids, and just the stress of it all, right?
Hmm.
And then there's affordability through the lens of community. How is this impacting the city as a whole? Like a lot of people do care a lot about about the visible homelessness that they see, and they also know that like this is not like for every person that's outside, there's someone who's like sleeping in their car, sleeping on buddy's couch. There's someone maybe my age, I'm almost 40, or a little younger, who's can no longer afford to rent and had to move back in with their parents. And that is a big concern across the city.
Absolutely. You know, I also I so we've been talking even before we get on here, we've been talking about those experiencing homelessness and how we can certainly help that. But another one of your points, which I think is less talked about in our city, but so needed, is
Mhm.
transportation,
Yes,
right?
absolutely. Transportation is huge because like they're connected pieces to me, right? Because the if the affordability is impacting your ability to have a car or a second car, well, how do you get to work? How do you get to school? How do you get to your services? Right? That like this does impact people who are poor, but it also impacts young people who are not getting their licenses until later and later. How do you get around so that you can be fully experiencing and feel like Moncton's yours? Because I feel like the experience when I first moved to Moncton, I didn't have my driver's license. I learned how to drive very late. And the openness and the transformation of your relationship to the whole city, once it's opened to you and you can actually get to where you need to go in a way that isn't draining and frustrating, right? Because there are definitely ways to get places that are technically possible, but I think taking an hour and 20 minutes to do a route that would take 10 minutes by car is I think it can build some resentment, or it's at least exhausting.
It will build resentment. It has
Yeah.
built resentment. So we actually have a beautiful busing system.
Yeah.
The only thing that's wrong with it is yeah, to go 10 minutes, you need to take an afternoon to get there. So it's not working for the public. And we can
No,
certainly make,
absolutely. I mean, you can imagine someone like a mother with 2 young kids that
right?
wants to take her kids somewhere, and like, "Don't worry, guys, just an hour 20 on the bus. It's still cool. That's great. That's gonna be a great experience for everyone."
Absolutely, absolutely. That's probably something that can be easily fixed too, don't you think?
I think there are tweaks we can do. I think the fundamental change that I would like to see is more transit users who are advising and driving how the routes are constructed. Because right now, again, we have kind of a top down where the
Yeah,
people who are making the decisions about the transportation routes are not themselves people taking the bus every day.
yeah, yeah, agreed. And I think that what has to happen is see if the transportation system works for us. We will leave
Mhm.
our car in the driveway.
Yeah,
We will jump on on the express so we don't have to use the gas. I mean, that's what's happening now.
absolutely.
But
And
even
it doesn't need to
more,
be an all or nothing, right? Like, I'm a big believer in kiss and rides where, maybe you can take your car to like a centralized location and then you take the bus the rest of the way. Like, that's a very practical way to get to hospital. That's a very practical way to get maybe to different tourist attractions. I also really like the idea of having more express routes where we're thinking about, okay, what are our big popular destinations,
yes.
and having some buses that are just not making a lot of stops, but you're just hitting those really big popular destinations. And then if someone maybe needs to get from a popular destinations to like their house or or a buddy's place or maybe a smaller business, then you get your connection and you can go on a bus that makes more stops to complete your route. Like, those are the
Yeah.
kinds of things I would like to explore while on council.
Oh, I love that. And I think that we have something that in place that, a lot of cities like ours don't have. And we're really close to beaches. So
Yes.
in the summertime to have that route to take, all the kids to the beach or the older folk to the beach early morning and then another bus back in the afternoon for a
Yeah.
reasonable price, I think would be amazing.
Well, a third big focus of my platform that I've had a bit less opportunity to talk about throughout the campaign, but I'm trying to kind of talk about more now, is an emphasis on small business, especially small businesses that are opened by, local operators who are, the kind of thing where you're opening a new cafe or a boutique and you're doing public facing, community facing stuff. And it's like the feedback has been very consistent. Good transit is good for business
Mm.
because if people can access your business, that's good for you, right? But moving on to your point about the beach, which is what made me think of it, you know, I think Moncton has this idea of itself as a drive-through city, where people will drive through Moncton to get somewhere else. And I think that is changing. That has changed as quickly as we have changed, right? Um, and because of different pressures internationally, there's more interest to do tourism and travel within Canada. Last summer was a banner year for tourism. Like, a lot of businesses were just surprised with all the visitors we got in a good way. So then the question becomes, all right, what's their experience when they get here? And I think a lot of people, when they arrive in the greater Moncton area, they get to the airport and all right, I'll take the bus to the city. You end up having to take a taxi and they get to your hotel and you go, okay, I'll go check out the city. How do I get to the zoo? How do I get to the beach? How do I get to this? Taxi. Or you rent a
Yeah.
car,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I foresee that we're going to have more visitors over the next few years. I think people are discovering us. I think also the province of New Brunswick and Destination Moncton Dieppe are doing really good jobs about like promoting what's exciting about us. You know, like we're French speaking. That's appealing to people who want to travel from within Quebec. We have a beautiful ocean. We have amazing nature. We have like we're very and we have all the Acadian cultural pieces and our festivals and Kinzu. There's a lot of exciting stuff to check out here. But it's like, is there more we can do to make that a smooth experience for people who come here? And transit's a big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So here at Dovaco, we are all about wellness. So as I told you before, we're a project tracking company and we actually cater to the non-for-profit. So a lot of non-for-profit have to have timesheets and have some accountability so they can
Mhm.
actually input that to their, you know, their grant or their loan or whatever they have. So our software caters to nonprofit.
Mhm.
And we're really proud of that. We have a lot of nonprofit all over the world, and so I just need to put that little plug in there. But we also hyper focus on health, mental health, physical health, your ability to get the project done. So we have heard, as a matter of fact, Dawn Arnold posted not too long ago about her death threats, about the fact that,
Mhm.
sitting on council, being the mayor to our city was not easy. How are
Yeah.
you planning, or are you planning on keeping yourself healthy during this time?
That's a really good question. And I'm really grateful to have people like Don Arnold and other people who are running currently to be sharing a part, not running currently, but other, public figures
Yep,
to
yep.
talk about the impacts of what I've been calling a trust recession on them. Because I think we're kind of in an era right now where there's a lot of skepticism about public figures and public office and public service. And there's a lot of concerns about, well, who is this person who is really serving us? And then we have a lot of issues with how our platforms are designed to incentivize angry discourse because it gets engagement, right? So we have a few different things working against us that I think creates those circumstances. Um, I guess if I'm being entirely honest, I have to say that I think it's a little hard to predict how you'll feel once you're in the middle of it. Like you can imagine, but I think ultimately there will be an aspect of I'll need to adapt as it comes. But on the other hand, something that I think is very protective and that I'm very grateful for is to see that in this election, it's not just me with my little opinions as like a little solitary voice. This is a big election of change in Moncton. Dawn has stepped away and she has gone into the Senate, and a lot of current serving councillors have either made the decision to take a step back or they've decided that now is their time where they want to represent the city as the mayor. And as a result, we have a lot of openings across the city, and it'll be a new council with a lot of opportunities for people to serve who have fresh ideas and are very community minded. Like I was actually talking to okay, so I'll tell a little story about what I'm trying to say about this culture because maybe stories are an easier way. Um, Yesterday, there was someone, I don't know who drove a bicycle across a bunch of my small signs that I have set up on one of the main drags in Mountain Von Harvey. And
Saw that.
I got very kind emails from Jeffrey McCluskey, one of the mayoral candidates, one of the candidates running in Ward 2, Daniel Bourgeois, and from Carl Bainbridge, who's my direct competition for at large, notifying me, hey, this happened. Just so you know, we want to make sure you can get those fixed just as quickly as possible. Like there's still a strong sense of community and like fair play in municipal politics in Moncton that I'm not sure has um, an a direct comparison like in a lot of places. And I'm very grateful that this is where I've decided to start my political career. But I think at the same time, um, it's the basic stuff of like working in not-for-profit, and I was also in the military for 4 years. You sort of learn to discernment about which angry person you should be engaging with and to what extent, right? Because I think there's some people who come to you in anger, but that anger is not it's not impossible to have a conversation with them, and there's an opportunity to like de-escalate, listen through the emotion into the concern, build a relationship, and maybe do something productive. And then there's other forms of anger that really come from a place of contempt and dehumanization, where there isn't really something productive to be done. And I think using that level of discernment in how I engage with people is going to be very important.
I have questions.
I know. I can feel you. I was like, ooh, look, there's openings, Eve. Maybe you should have ran.
Oh, that was that look. Well, no. First of all, it takes courage to run
Yeah.
for a political office. So
It does.
hats off.
So much courage.
So it takes a lot of courage, and it also takes courage um, to spot the goodness in people.
Yeah.
And so I see that, like it's not. You're right. It's not all politics, especially like you see what's happening on the national level, for example. It's not kind. That's not kindness. That's like arguing to argue, right?
Yeah.
That's just division instead of
Yeah,
like
exactly.
unity. So you can argue that we have like you can't argue that we have an homelessness problem. You can't argue about the possible solutions, and we can all agree that we don't know because
Right.
if we did know, we would fix it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's not
And
that complicated.
something like when I speak with people who maybe we have a different point of view, I'm always here to show up for a conversation where we're working in the same reality. We've identified the same problems and we are both concerned about the same things, but we have different approaches. Those are conversations that I'm here for all day long. I think those can be really great opportunities to like help one another identify blind spots, come up with a synthesis of both perspectives to come up with a better solution. But in order to do that, you need to have good faith discussion where everyone comes to the table. You do need a shared set of values. And I know the values I bring to things. I really value community. I value collaboration. I value I value respectful discourse, and I also really value people's. I was going to say empowerment, but that's maybe not the word I want. I empower. I believe in the power of scaffolding people so that they can make their own. They can execute their own vision for their own lives, right? Because I think often when you raise up people just a little bit, or you give them a boost or energy, or lower the barriers to opportunity, that often what people want for themselves is in alignment with what we as a community want for them. And I'm very ready to just come up with the most practical way to get to that goal. Like I don't have ownership over my proposed solution, but I do need to hear a better idea.
So two of you had three big points on your which are a really good thing. One, it was transportation. The other was homelessness
Mm-hmm.
and housing or affordability. And
Yeah.
affordability, like there's some things that the city can do for sure, but a lot of it is dictated by things that are out of our control, right? The price of gas, for example, is not in our control. But we can provide something like transportation that eases the costs of people getting to work or getting to a certain place.
Yeah.
And
I
I
also
think
think about our urban development and how are we going to be designing Moncton as we grow in a way that supports affordability, right? That is fully within the municipal lens. How do we zone the cities? I'm a big zoning nerd now. Like to me, zoning holds a lot of the answers to a lot of our problems. How are we going to be creating density? How are we creating more spaces for small businesses to open up? Like we have so many people who have moved to Moncton with incredible skill sets, but they're finding that maybe the opportunity is there's a ceiling, but if people can put out their own shingle and open up their own place, then all of a sudden the capacity in Moncton would grow exponentially. But there needs to be the space to do it. And right now, retail space in Moncton, the vacancy rate's very low. Like we've got lots of office space. Moncton is stellar for office space. But if you want to open like a new cafe or a restaurant, it's as difficult as renting an apartment. The vacancy rate's very low.
All right, so you're talking about housing, like in this, like, give me more about that. Is it like the fact that we have in North America, we have like residential housing, and in residential housing, you can't have a cafe, you can't have a barber, you can't have a small business. So it
That could be
forces
part
people
of it. I think a lot about where the opportunities are to build more mixed use buildings as
mixed
well. Like I think
use. Yeah.
we are building more apartment buildings across, and the ones that have mixed use building that create kind of new corners and neighborhoods. But there are also opportunities to zone our residential areas in such a way that in a way that's cohesive with living in a neighborhood. You could still have like a walking distance, accessible corner store, dépanneur, a cafe
Hmm.
that creates like a little hub for the community where you live. And because something people talk to me a lot about is traffic. Traffic has increased a lot in Moncton. It's harder to drive places. And part of the reason is how we've designed the city. It's not the only reason, but if you design the city so that everyone lives in one place and then has to go work in another, at the same times of day, everyone's going to be on the road at the same time. Whereas if we think about Moncton as having several small neighborhoods instead of just one downtown, and then the rest of it is more mainly residential, then you have bi-directional traffic, or people are closer to home.
Oops. Did we lose us?
Oh
Oh,
gosh.
No, we're here. We're still here.
can
Okay.
can you see us?
Very surprising change.
We're not sure what happened there. I have no idea.
So, so like we own, like as Shelley was saying, we run a business. Most of our customers are outside of Moncton,
Mhm.
99.9%. But we live, like most of our, like 99% of our employees are in
Yeah.
Moncton region, right? So
Mhm.
we're very much part of this community. The reason we picked the office in near Victoria Park to be part of a community, to be not only to be away from kind of the main street, but to be part
Mhm.
of the community. So there was a housing, or the route, the what do you call that? We could actually have this business here. It was allowed,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and so that's why we picked it. And one of the very important aspect of us for us is like homelessness is a very important aspect. So Shelley and I have both been players in that field for a while. I'm a big proponent of adopting a homeless person. And what that means is that I have two actually. They have my cell phone.
Yeah.
If they need to drive, if they need to go to a hospital, if they need something, it's not only about money. So it's about, I think this is my personal view. Um, I think we're not addressing the issue of homelessness in the right way. And the root cause of homelessness is they don't have a home, meaning
Mm.
that they don't belong anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's the
So
belonging.
if you put them all in like temporary housing, they're all bunched together, and they're
Mhm.
gonna act like that because they're all bunched
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so we need to integrate these people inside because they're part of our community, whether we want to accept it or not. They're part of our community,
Yes.
and I've always like I think it's Simon Sinek who said something like, "If you have one person that stands by you, you can do amazing things."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
I
you're
think if
describing
you
aligns really well with what we know in terms of evidence and
yeah.
data, is that when you have affordable housing that is integrated across the community, not just all sectioned off in one place, people have better outcomes. People are less likely to be evicted. The retention rates are higher, and people are more likely to meet their personal goals, which often can be like reintegration into the workforce if that's where they're at, or increased medical care for their disability if the disability prevents. You just see better outcomes across the board when people's housing are integrated into the community. There's a sentence I really like, which is the opposite of addiction is connection, not
It
sobriety.
is 100%. And they get addicted because they feel they don't belong.
That's
So
it.
they
Yeah.
escape, right?
Yeah.
That's why people drink. That's why we get all the addiction. We all have addictions in certain ways. And we
Absolutely.
escape because we don't feel we
Yeah.
belong. We don't feel we're enough. Absolutely,
And that's
100%.
part of why I like to talk about the youth piece a lot, because I think sometimes we have this idea in our mind that, like, oh, someone turns 40, made a collective life of bad decisions, and then ended up homeless or something, right? That's not the majority of stories. Most people experience homelessness for the first time when they're younger than 25, fully a quarter younger than 18. You know what I
Can
mean?
you imagine?
Think about how much you knew at
I know.
18.
One in
What could
four.
have happened if you didn't have family to fall back on, right? Not everyone has family to fall back on, right?
The
And a lot of
interesting,
people do have people in their communities that they can rely on for some support. Like most people who are homeless, or they're homeless in the community where they grew up, right? Because they do have friends, they do have connections, they do have but there's a difference between letting your friend sleep on your couch for a month versus housing them, right? So that's where the precarious housing piece comes in, is people do have support and people that care about them, but you know it doesn't replace having an actual social safety net.
Mm,
yeah. So it's interesting because I'm not saying that what we've done is bad. I'm saying what we've done doesn't work,
yeah.
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
it's not
so
enough.
we're stuck, and I'll say this at Dovico too. Like as a business, if your results aren't there, then you're stuck in your delusional mind. You think
Yeah.
you have different ideas, but it's the same idea differently.
Mhm.
So that's the reason companies get stuck. That's the reason individuals get stuck, and
Yeah.
that's the reason communities get stuck. So we're
Yeah.
stuck.
Yeah.
We are
Absolutely.
stuck. 100 in North America, we are stuck.
Yeah.
We
Mhm.
think we have the answer and we don't.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we have to get out, we have to get away from ourselves in order to figure this out. To me, this is the biggest problem. One of my friends commented, I wish the new mayor would clean up Moncton. The reason that's not the root cause. The problem is the homelessness. That's the big thing. You resolve home. Let's say we became the city which had zero homelessness. You would have
We'd be a
tourists.
national leader.
You would have people come here, move here. We have businesses come here. Our businesses would be thriving. Like people would be safer,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You'd make more
Well,
money.
and
If
the
you
other
make more
thing to
money, you
think
have
about too
problems.
is
Okay.
the long-term solution to homelessness is housing, because homelessness is a housing problem. But
Mm,
addressing that problem
I
lifts up so many
it's
other boats,
it's not a
right?
housing, it's a home problem.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
It's not to provide a house, it's to provide a home, a place that they feel that's their house.
I'll admit that there's nuance to it, but definitely having like having a home gets you further than none, especially something that's
But
appropriate with wraparound supports.
do
That,
you see
but
the
the point
difference
is,
there? The difference between a home and a house there's a difference.
I
Like
mean,
if you provide housing, it's
I'll
here you
finish my point,
go.
then I'll circle back to this, which is if we can address the housing piece, it lifts up a lot of boats, right? Which is we have seniors who are concerned about their fixed income, and having more affordable housing supports them. We have young people that are having a hard time starting their lives and getting out from their parents' house. And having more affordable housing enables them to get started. There's getting at the core issue of our housing crisis does lift a lot of ships. And that's what I like about addressing that solution proactively. Going more to your point about community building, I agree with you, because what we see when we house people who've had an experience of living outside and homelessness is it's not as simple in sticking them in any house. That doesn't work. Because once someone has had the experience of homelessness, there's a lot of extra needs that come into the table. Homelessness is hard on your health. You've built a whole community of people around you who have helped you survive, right? And so it can be very difficult to be the person who is all of a sudden housed, and meanwhile, and maybe you're not allowed to have visitors, especially not overnight visitors. And it's hard to watch the people who have cared for you continue to struggle. And so people will include the people in their home. I think the solution for housing needs to incorporate what people actually need from their housing so that it can become a home.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We cannot put addicted, mentally people that are having some mental illness in a house and expect there to be any change. And you're absolutely right. They will fill their homes with the people that helped that they were helped
Yeah.
by, and they will be evicted in short order. So
Well,
there's a
imagine
whole lot.
asking a smoker to live in a non-smoking building, right? It's not sustainable.
Absolutely.
It's not realistic.
It's not realistic. So much that we can do. Anna, I am so excited that you are on here with us today, and being able to express your platform and what you're going to do for our community. I think today is early voting. Does
Or is it
voting
It
already?
is.
start?
That's right.
Yeah.
Today is early voting.
Yeah,
Exciting.
so get out and make sure that you get your vote in. Your vote matters, and this is Moncton, New Brunswick can actually be the forefront to the entire world if we're able to help fix
Hmm.
this problem. This problem I've always believed is fixable. And I don't know exactly how to do it, but what I do know is, as a company, as a business, as a human, um, that Dovaco would love to be part of, however we can. I think that it's not a city problem, it's not a councillor problem, it's not a mayor problem. It is all of us. We all have to be in this together, and we have to stop blaming others for the reason that we have homelessness on our streets. It's time to stop blaming others, and it's time for us to be kind. We have to be able to show, I mentioned this before, love, dignity, and respect goes an awful long way. And you'll actually get that back. You will actually get that back from the humans that are experiencing homelessness when we share that. Love is a big part of what we do, and we need to meet that head on with those that are sleeping rough on our streets.
I think I'm not sure I speak for all the businesses. I can't do that,
Mhm.
but I can and speak to the business people, the owners that I've talked to, and homelessness is a big issue for them.
Yeah.
And I think being part of the conversation and being part of the action plan is something that small businesses would welcome. Like we just don't, we want some leadership in having that discussion. We want some leadership
Mhm.
in having that group conversation to see what we can do together, right? And and I can't, like, again, I can't speak for business people, but every single business owner that I've talked to that is operating in Moncton, not even downtown, but in Moncton,
Mhm.
they know that this is
Yeah,
an issue
absolutely.
Yeah.
and it affects their lives, and they have the means, they have so
Yeah,
it's also a money thing. They have the money to do certain things, right?
yeah,
So you're not alone in this. So just know that when you go to this and you're going to win your election, know that the citizens of Moncton,
Yeah.
right, are their tree our tri
invite
community.
us
It's
to the
not, we're
table.
not
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah, you're
You're
not alone.
not alone.
Invite us to the
I'd
table.
love to leave it on
We'll be
this
there.
note about how
Yeah.
heartwarming and like Moncton still got a lot of heart, which is I spoke with the YMCA Reconnect. They have a program called YRAD, which is an alternative dispatch. So it's essentially like alternatives to the RCMP showing up for things going on in the community that are
They do.
like
Yeah.
related to the homeless population. And I asked her, well, what's the most common call that you get? And I was fully expecting something more like trespassing or open air use, something like that. And she goes, no, people are worried. People ask, say, hey, I see someone and I'm worried about
Mm.
them. Can
Yeah.
you check on them? Can you make
Yeah.
sure they're okay? That's the city we have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
True.
majority of people that live here. It's a lot of heart. It's still a very community minded place.
absolutely.
I mean, I think that's the that's the star you should hang your hat on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, wonderful to talk to you, Anna. Get out there and vote. Let's change. Let's make a difference. Like I said before, we don't know exactly what we need to do, but I think if we're collaborative
We'll
and
figure it
and
out.
we get to be part of it, we get to connect with you guys, the businesses, at the level of where you're going to be, Anna. I think that there's going to be solutions. If I can offer you a word of advice from a leader, um, listen. When you get in there, say
Mhm.
less and listen more. The one thing that we always want to do is we always want to make sure that we get our words across, and that's super important. But even more importantly, is to find out where you're at. find out where people are. I remember we talk about Simon Sinek a lot here. We love him. And the one thing he always says is when he hires a leader, he doesn't let them speak for the first 2 months.
It's interesting you say that because I think, Dolico has been around for 35 years. And I think our biggest, the reason we've been around for so long, it's because of our team. It's because we speak less.
Yeah.
This is so we've created this format here so we can actually get all the words out.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the week we say nothing. We shut up. We go to all the meetings, we shut up. And the reason for that is we don't have all the answers. Yeah. And this is the way we've survived and thrived.
And thrived.
Yeah.
That's the reason
Absolutely.
why we're an IT SaaS company, is because we have learned how to actively listen. And for you to know where you're at that table, there's been a lot of talk, but let me tell you, listen.
It's the reason I've been married for 44 years too.
Yeah, yeah, right. Me too. 38 this year. My
Shut
God.
up. You don't
right?
know anything.
Congratulations.
Oh, right. Can you imagine? So thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm
Thank
Shelley
you for
Butler.
having me.
I'm Yves Doucet.
And this has been Mindset Monday. Anna Larad, make sure you vote for her. And you can do that today. Love you. Get your workout in. And how are you showing up? Bye, Anna. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank